Have you tried running ads before and it just seems like every single prospect that comes from your ad is just an unqualified prospect? Well, you're not alone. And in this video, I'm going to show you what I've learned from spending millions of dollars on ads and give you 5 ways to fix this whole bad quality lead Walmart shopper issue once and for all. So, my name's Justin Saunders, for those of you that don't know me, and I've been running ads online for over 7 years now. And I run a coaching program that helps coaches scale with paid ads. And here's actually a photo of some of our top high-end clients that all went with us to Mykonos. We've used this exact strategy to close over thousands of clients online. Every single client in this photo has paid us over $30,000 just to be here on the low end. So what I'm about to share with you here works. Every single person came from an ad. Now, if you're sick and tired of just bad quality leads, I've got 5 ways to fix this. And make sure you stick until the end because the last one has a 90% chance of fixing everything. But it might be as simple as just the first one for you. So before I give you the 5 solutions, I need to go over one piece of groundwork to make sure you fully understand this and make sure that this will work for you. So the first thing I need to tell you, and you probably don't want to hear this, but you need to have realistic expectations. When most people run ads to get leads, they expect every single lead to be their dream client. This will never happen, I promise you. And to give you some context on this, before I started teaching coaches how to run ads, I actually used to run an agency for about 5 years where we would run ads for local businesses and some online coaches as well. But the big thing that we found is every person at first came in with the wrong expectations, thinking that every single lead was going to be their dream fit. And you got to understand that we are playing a lead generation game here. And I'm going to go through some math with you, which will make a little bit more sense, but you need to have that expectation up front. So there's a KPI that you want to essentially aim here, which brings us into number one, is understanding the math. There are a lot of KPIs that you need to understand when it comes to building your business, but the first thing when it comes to getting better quality leads is what we call the lead to quality percentage. We're just going to refer to this as LTQ as we go through this video, but the LTQ equals the total number of qualified leads divided by total leads, right? So to have an accurate number, you need to define what a quality lead is for your company. Now, every company is different, and what I would recommend that you do is you have a one-pager inside your company that you give your setting team, your sales team, your client fulfillment team, whatever type of team it is, or maybe even just yourself, is you have to have a one-pager of who your ideal type of client is. An example is if we go with the trading industry, it could be their ideal type of client is a trader with 2 years of experience and has at least 10K in their trading account. This is the most simple version of what you can have with this. The more detailed you are, the better, but at least have something. A lot of times when clients come to us, we ask them who their ideal client is, and they're like, oh, it's just somebody that's trying to fitness. They're like, oh, it's just somebody trying to get in shape. Well, everybody and their mom's trying to get in shape. You got to be specific on exactly who you want to work with. And the cool part with this is you can get choosy. You don't have to work with everybody. You can work with whoever you want. So then the question becomes, what percentage of a number should I be aiming for on the lead to quality ratio, right? Well, every industry is different. And depending on whether you're B2B or B2C, that number is going to dramatically change. You need to start tracking this number and optimizing for it. So let's do some quick math. If you have 100 leads and 10 of them are quality, meaning 10 out of 100 leads are your ideal client, then you have a 10% lead to quality ratio. Otherwise, if you had one lead that was super quality out of 10 leads, that would be a 10% lead to quality ratio. Vice versa, if you have 100 leads and 20 of them are quality, you would have a 20% lead to quality ratio. So you got to get this number and you got to run ads to get a baseline for this on the first part. So a little side note for you is knowing this metric will actually help you determine if you have a marketing or sales issue with booking prospects. This is where the math really comes into play to see if your numbers can be more profitable. So let's break this down. An example would be, let's say your offer is $5,000 and you have a 10% lead to quality ratio. Again, referring to this as LTQ. So let's say you spend $20 to generate a lead. Your cost per lead would be $20. and you generate 100 leads, which equals $2,000 in total ad spend, right? It's $20 per one lead. You get 100 of them. 20 times 100 equals $2,000. Now, let's say 100 leads with a 10% LTQ score. That would mean 10 leads are quality, right? Because 10% of 100 equals 10. If your LTQ score was 20%, then you would have 20 leads. So make sure you understand this math before moving on, because if you don't, nothing else will make sense. I hope I made that as simple as possible. But essentially what that means is your cost per qualified lead is $200. You do $2,000 divided by 10 leads, right? You have 10 leads and you spent $2,000. So that means it costs you $200 to get a qualified, ideal type of prospect reaching out to you. Now, most people at this point be like, oh my God, that doesn't even make any sense. But bear with me as I go through the math, and I'll show you how it can make a lot of sense and make you a lot of money by making a lot of sense. So you should, in a perfect world, if you have 10 leads, 10 perfect ideal type of clients, your ideal type of client, you should be able to book 10 of those. If not, you have a setting issue. But let's just say you only book 70% of your ideal type of client. Again, I'm not saying everybody that comes through, I'm saying your ideal perfect type of client. But let's say you only book 70% of those. Well, that would mean that you would book 7 leads. So if you book 7 leads, then your cost per booked appointment would be $2,000 total ad spend divided by 7 leads. So that would equal $285 per booked appointment, which is pretty solid, especially if you have a $5,000 product. Now, let's assume that you close 30% of these deals. Typically, 35% is the average from all of our clients of what they close. My top closer last month closed at 46%. So I'm giving 30% because I think that should be pretty average. A lot of times people come in here and they're around like a 20%. One of the things my company does is we have extensive sales training. So we help them understand how to close a deal and how to set the right type of people to get this number closer to 30. So again, if you're operating at a 30% close rate, which you should be able to, especially with this type of system, then 7 book calls with a 30% close rate equals 2.1 closed deals, right? So let's just be conservative. Let's round down. That's going to be 2 closed deals. 2 deals at $5K a price point equals $10,000 in cash, meaning you just made $10,000 off of spending $2,000 in ads. So $10,000 total cash minus $2,000, your total ad spend and your total cost for all the leads that you just generated, the 100 leads that you got, you only closed 2 deals out of them, right? Well, that would be $8,000 in your bank account. So a lot of times people look at this like, well, I'm only getting 10% quality. I only booked 7 leads out of 100 leads. Man, like lead quality is terrible. Not necessarily. You have to understand the actual numbers and how this flows, because a lot of times people don't understand the equation behind this. So it's important that you understand the math so that you can determine what will actually work in your industry. And, this might not work for everyone. You have to plug in your own numbers to see what actually makes sense. But most of the time, people think that they have issues with just not getting enough leads or the lead quality is bad, but in reality, they just don't understand the math. So in the scenario above, what I showed you right here, you would have a 5x ROAS on ads, meaning you spent $2,000 and you made $10,000, which a 5x ROAS in the marketing space is really solid. So then the question becomes, if every time you spent $1 and you get $5 back, again, a 5x ROAS, how many times are you going to spend that $1? Think about if you were in Vegas and they said, hey man, every time you spend $1, I'm going to give you $5 back. How many times are you going to spend that dollar? As many times as possible. Anyone with a have a brain would probably think that, right? And that's essentially what we do with a lot of our clients, is we help them build this client acquisition machine. So you put $1 in and you get $5 back every single time. Now I've got 4 more that I need to go with you on here, but if at any point in this video you decide that you want to learn a little bit more about how we install this client acquisition machine inside our client's business, there will be a link down below the video where you can learn a little bit more about that. So let's go on to number 2. Know your ideal client avatar. So here's a quick little story for you. This has actually happened about 4 days ago. my client hopped on our coaching call. We have 7 coaching calls a week, by the way. And one of them is ran by me, where I specifically focus just on ads. So people come in, they share their screen, they show me their ads, they show me their KPIs, everything. And I come on, I'd say, hey, this is the issue you're running into. This is what you fix. Come back to me after you fix it, and we'll go from there. And a client hops on, a newer client, and he's all frustrated. He's frustrated with his ads. He's like, man, it's been 2 weeks and nothing's working. And I was like, all right, well, I've heard this a million times before. Cool. Let me check out your numbers. We have a KPI sheet we give all of our clients. He pulled up his KPI sheet, analyzed everything. And I was like, all right, well, let me look at your ads, this is protocol. I always look at their KPIs and I look at their ads before giving advice. And the ad was a fitness ad, but the ad was speaking to everybody and their mom. The ad basically read like this. There's a lot of words, and it basically, 1,000-foot overview was, hey, I will help you. And it basically said, I will help you live a better life by getting in the shape that you want. That was pretty much it. Now, there was a lot more fancier words and everything in there, but from the consumer standpoint, that's how the ad read. And so I asked my client, I was like, okay, who is your ideal client? Like, who do you want to work with? And he goes, I'm not really sure. And to me, that answered everything. You have to know exactly who you want to work with. We put all of our clients through an extensive worksheet to get this information. This client, kind of just skipped that process. And that definitely happens because, one of the biggest things when it comes to ads I would highly recommend is losing your ego. Forget everything that you think you know and then find a proven process and just do exactly what they say. And he just skipped that process. So I'll give you a couple good examples and bad examples, so kind of hit home a little bit more with this. I'll help you lose weight. Believe it or not, a lot of people try to advertise like that. The way around that would be, I help busy moms shred that extra postpartum LBS pounds and get their dream body in 90 days or less. Do you see the difference on here? This is just result. I'll help you lose weight. Okay, everybody running ads in the fitness space can help people lose weight, right? But you're not speaking to one specific type of avatar, and you're not telling them like when and how it's going to happen, right? So look how specific this is. I help busy moms shred that extra postpartum pounds. These again are talking to not just busy moms, but moms that have had that actually had given birth recently, right? So getting their dream body in 90 days or less. It's just way more specific. And this is how that my client's ad basically read. And what the advice I gave him is, hey, you got to get super specific on who you work with and how you get them the result. So here's another one. And I believe it or not, I saw this one come up literally 3 questions right after that. I'll help you make money online by starting your own business. Okay. Who, how, what, when, where, why? Like, these are all questions that come in my head if I see an ad like this. And a lot of you guys might be looking at this and be like, oh, that's pretty beginner friendly. But it is, because most people do that. They don't understand that you have to be super specific with your ideal avatar. So here's a better example is I help college kids become online copywriters to be able to work when and whenever they want to make 6 figures a year, right? Whatever it might be. These are just kind of off the cusp that I put together. But the more specific you are with the exact avatar and exactly what the process is and what the outcome is, you're going to get way better results, because successful ads speak to one type of person. When you know this info, call them out in every piece of content. That should say info. Call them out in every single piece of content that you create on your stories, on your reels, on your YouTube videos, and your emails. You need to know exactly who you want to speak with. So to kind of sum up this number 2 right here is know your ideal avatar is if you don't know your ideal avatar, nobody else will. And especially if you try running ads, if you're uncertain who your ideal avatar is and you try running ads, well, you're just going to 10x that uncertainty with everybody else, and then you're not going to get results and you're going to waste money. So that's why with us, our clients, before they run ads, we require them to fill out this form and require them to go through this type of stuff to make sure that we have an entire worksheet we put them through. Now, clearly, some people come through and like, oh, I don't need this. I know this. And then they go through and do it themselves and come back 2 weeks later and go, oh, well, it's not working. Exactly, because there is a process to running ads. You have to know exactly who you want to be speaking to. The next, number 3, is adding friction. Now, once you have steps 1 and 2, the next step would be add more friction to the ad. So friction is by definition the resistance that one surface or object encounters when moving over another. You're adding friction to it, right? So we're adding resistance, which is basically the same thing as friction here. A lot of ways to do this is by calling them out in your ideal ad. So you'll see, we'll use traders for this example, or we'll use a couple examples here, right? This only works for current traders that have at least 10K in their account, right? So if you're not getting a lot of quality people, putting this disclaimer, if you're using a like photo ad, putting this disclaimer out there saying, hey, this will only work for traders that have at least 10K liquid or 10K in their account. Or you can say that in the video, whatever it might be, right? Another thing would be if you're, you could say, this does not work for brokies, must have at least 5K for ads. Believe it or not, I've put that in ads before and it works pretty well. And then you could say agency owners only, right? Instead of trying to teach people how to run an agency, maybe you're only looking for people that currently run an agency, or agency owners doing 10K a month, right? The more specific you are, the better. Now, these are big, bold claims that you include in your ad. Make sure not to sugarcoat this part. You want to make sure it's as simple and as easy to read. We'll have some clients that come through here and they'll put this in here, but it'll be very small and you can't see it anywhere. It needs to be big and bold so you can see it everywhere, like very big and attention wise, because the algorithm's going to optimize towards it. So think about this as if you are throwing shade at the people you don't want to work with, right? So for me, if I'm an agency coach, this will only work for agencies that are doing over 20K a month. If you are not doing 20K a month, do not watch this ad. I would literally say something like that in there. And again, you can take it step by step. I would say don't go all the way to the extreme, but go and take it in increments. So this will only work for agencies that are doing 10K a month. If that doesn't work, this will only work for agencies doing 20K a month. If your agency is not 2 years old, do not watch this ad. At least, you see what I'm saying? The more friction you add, the better it can be. And you're basically just throwing shade at people you don't want. You can also include this on your landing pages or anything that involves the next step. So for example, if it's a lead form ad that you're running or a DM ad, before the lead opts in, you can add another line of resistance or / friction. This only works for traders that have at least 10K in their investment account. Message me for more information, or fill out your information and I'll have my team reach out. Whatever it might be, CTA, call to action. Do not submit your info unless you are a US citizen that has 10K in their funding account. We had a trading coach that he would run ads and he just wouldn't get US citizens. And for some reason, it was very odd. But one of the things you could just add in there is, one, you can make sure you're targeting the US first off. But two, make sure you just say that, right? So again, you have to go through this. But again, I would really encourage you to watch to make sure you understand the ads policy. There's a video on my page that I would highly recommend, on my YouTube page, that I highly recommend you watch after this video to understand the policy, because there's certain things you can and can't say when calling out specific individuals. Now, if you're going to go the route of VSL or anything different, you just make sure you say it and like make sure they see it and hear it first thing. So in the headline of a VSL, like the landing page, you could say this only works for experienced investors that have at least 10K in their account. If it's a video, this only works for experienced investors that have at least 10K in their account, and do not watch this unless that's you. If that's you, cool. Let's go on and move forward. A note for you is when you add friction, your cost per lead will go up. But that's okay, because if you do it correctly, your lead to quality ratio will go up, resulting in cheaper book calls and cheaper cost per acquisition, which means a higher close rate, which also means more money in your bank account. So number 4 is application-based only. Now, this is the next step in adding friction to your marketing process. When adding a form, your cost per book call will typically go up. But again, your lead quality should skyrocket, which results to more money in your bank account if you can close the deals. This will be how you start having consistent 30% and above close rates, is when you have some sort of form that filters out bad quality leads. Because at the end of the day, you should only be speaking with qualified prospects every day. And 2 ways to do this are, 1, send prospects to an application, and then the application takes them to an online calendar to book. You could use things like Jotform where there's an application and then after that it sends them to a calendar. I personally like just calendar to application. I think this is better. Any online calendar options work. We use Calendly, and I'm going to show you how this works in a second, but most of our clients use Go High Level or Calendly. There's a million softwares you can use. The point being is just pick one and stick with it. So this is how our Calendly works, is we send them this page and they find a time. So the first step is, okay, hey, find a time on my calendar. After they click and find a time, then it asks them some questions. You can see here, we ask some qualifying questions is what best describes your business? How much cash, not revenue, are you collecting per month? Our clients normally see a 1 to 3 ROI within their first month. How much are you able to invest in ads at the beginning to acquire new clients? And the more you can add more and more on here. But the whole point is you can get creative with whatever questions you want to ask here. I recommend starting slow and moving your way up. Don't just immediately have 20 qualifying questions there. Start with maybe 1 to 3, and then if you need more, add more. But you don't want to have them go through an entire 10-page application just to book a call with you. You just need to get the questions answered that are going to help you qualify them based on if they're a qualified lead or not. Quick note, you will have some people that do slip through the cracks. We use setters to manually review each application and reach out to requalify or cancel anyone who doesn't seem like a perfect fit. If you'd like some more information on how this works, again, just check out that link down below on how our process works. It'll walk you through A to Z how everything works and how we use setters to do this part too. Number 5, your setup matters. Now, if you've done everything above and you're still getting low quality leads, I promise you it's not an ads algorithm issue. I hear this over and over again. Man, my ad account just doesn't work. Facebook hates me. No, it's a you issue, and you got to be honest with yourself. So some things you can do, you can check your background. If you are shooting ads in a poor area, you're probably going to attract poor people. If you have Walmart in the background, you're probably going to attract Walmart buyers, right? And you have to understand like what your background is and where you're shooting. A lot of times for me, I shoot in my office because I want to attract people that have a good office, right? You also got to check your mic quality. Again, these are all things you got to test. I'm not saying these are always going to be this is the issue type of thing, but sometimes you got to test it. Video editing. If your video editing isn't good, sometimes that might be an issue. Now, I have seen the very basic type of edits work really well too, but you have to just test this type of stuff because sometimes it's the smallest tweaks that make the biggest difference in your ads. It's also the way you speak, the way you dress. If you speak ghetto, you're going to attract ghetto people. If you speak very country, you're going to be attracting a lot of folks in the country, right? So you got to understand who you're talking to and who you are. And it's not a bad thing. Like usually, if you do ads well, you're going to attract more of the people that are like you, your ideal type of clients that are somewhat like you because they're going to attract with your vibe. I had a client buy from me, pay in full, and the only reason he hopped on the call, he's like, dude, I see ads every single day. The only reason I hopped on a call with you was because you have a ginger beard. And he was a ginger. He's like, I respect it. And he bought on the spot because of that, because your vibe attracts your tribe. All of this does have a huge impact on your ads. So just remember, if you're doing everything else above and you're still getting bad quality leads, it's probably either your setup or maybe you're just not spending enough money on the leads in the first place because other people can outbid you, which would result in your ads not performing. So I didn't put this on here, but if, for example, let's just say me and you created the same exact ad, but let's say I was spending $1,000 a day on that one ad and you were spending $10. Well, Facebook, wherever you're putting that ad, is going to incentivize me because I'm spending more money. And they're going to give you all the low quality ones. So sometimes that happens. That's why I always say never copy other people's ads, because if you are, you're just competing with them. And unless you know for sure you're spending more money, chances are it's usually a waste. So that's why I always say get creative with creating your own type of ads. Now, some things to keep in mind. If you do this correctly, you will train the algorithm on your ideal type of clients that you want to work with. This is huge. Once you get this part down, getting clients gets a whole lot easier. Next thing is don't be cheap. A lot of times people try getting the cheapest cost per lead. That often leads to the worst thing you can do. Be willing to pay more for qualified leads because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is your cost per acquisition and your ROAS. Once you start getting leads in, I challenge you to look at your cost per qualified booked call. That's going to help you really dictate everything else, because then from there, you can figure out if it's a closing issue or a marketing issue, right? So if you've had a successful, and another thing is if you've had a successful ad in the past and it just isn't performing anymore, most of the time it's just because it hit ad fatigue and it's not performing anymore. Don't fall in love with your ads. If they don't work, they don't work. That's really what it comes down to. So hopefully these 5 ways are going to help you fix your bad quality leads issue. I've used them over and over and over again inside my company and have shared this and implemented this with thousands of our own clients. So if you found value in this, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button down below. And for anyone that is looking to go any bit faster, would like to hear a little bit more about our accelerator program, where we put you through all this and get you up and running as fast as possible and get you profitable with ads within the first month, check that link down below. It'll take you to like a 5 to 10 minute video that's going to explain everything that we do and see if it might make sense for you. So with that being said, hope you found value. See you in the next video. Peace.